Closed captioning for News 12 is brought to you by Kenneth Nugent. From the station that's on your side, News 12, first at 5, continues.
This quiet neighborhood house erupting into chaos and confusion last night. A conflict turning into a showdown, leaving 3 people hurt and the shooter dead.
Columbia County deputies tell us it happened in the Halifax North subdivision in Evans, right on Fairfield Way, just a couple of blocks away from Evans to Locks Road.
Our Sloan O'Cone joins us now live from that neighborhood in Sloan. We're learning deputies were already on the scene before the shooting started.
Exactly. The person actually called the sheriff's office after he received a threatening text message from the shooter, including a picture of his house. So deputies responded to what they call a threatening suspect call. But when they walked back through those gates, right back there, that what they weren't expecting was what the sheriff's office call an ambush. The person living in the home, responding deputy, the resident's brother, and his brother's girlfriend went to the backyard to see if the shooter was out there. Deputies say once the group walked in, he opened fire on all of them. The resident and deputy both fired back, but missed the shooter. He died later from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. The resident, his brother, and brother's girlfriend were shot in the foot, ankle, and thigh and taken to the hospital. They're expected to be okay. The deputy was not shot. We've also learned another woman and 2 children were inside the home. Neighbors say they can't believe this happened here.
This is a really, really, really safe neighborhood. The best school district around. Both sides of the houses is police live there. Well, we heard the gunshots, like bam, 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 and then a little pause, then bam, 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 bam again.
The sheriff's office says that this was a personal issue with the parties involved, not random. So even though neighbors like Arlene are still a little shaken up today, there's some relief knowing that. But coming up tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, I'm working on a story where you're going to hear more from the sheriff's office about what they want you to know in situations like these.
All right, thanks for that, Sloan. Taking a look. All right, thank you, Riley. This week, Aitkin.
They will get some record-setting temps again tomorrow, though, in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thank you, Riley. This week, Aitkin County Schools reporting 17 students with COVID and 262 students quarantining.
That's compared to back on January 14th when 553 students were testing positive and more than 3,000 students were in quarantine. Just a huge difference. And with that decline in cases, the school district is responding.
Our Claire Allen joins us live in the newsroom now to break down guidance from state health officials and how the school district is using it. Claire?
Across the CSRA, COVID cases are declining, prompting Aitkin County School District to loosen up certain restrictions for students to return to some normalcy.
Another step toward where we would like to be.
New state guidance from DHEC is putting a pause on test to stay and quarantine protocols in South Carolina schools, including Aitkin County. Schools must have 2 straight weeks where less than 10% of students and staff test positive for COVID.
Kind of news that we've been looking for quite some time.
In addition, starting March 1st, all outside visitors will be allowed back into schools after nearly 2 years.
Events on campus, such as a school dance or things that have not been allowed in the past due to the COVID restrictions.
The school district is also reinstating field trips and putting sports activities back in action.
Athletic tournaments that are taking place out of our area that would require an overnight stay, activities moving forward.
Aitkin school leaders say isolation requirements are still in place for positive cases.
Close contacts are still being identified. People are still, going to, be in quarantine through the rest of this week.
DHEC also says masking of close contacts with no symptoms can stop as schools continue to report numbers of cases weekly.
All right, thanks for that, Claire. Also in Aitkin County, we're learning they're having a special called meeting coming up March 1st. At that meeting, they'll be talking more about the modified calendar. Just last month, the school board approved a modified calendar for the 2023-24 school year that will include more breaks throughout the year instead of a long summer break. It's called a year-round schedule.
Also today, Augusta leaders plan 12 at 6 o'clock. We're going to take a look at the status of Donald's current projects and how leaders plan to pass that torch.
Today marks 2 years since the death of Ahmaud Arbery. 2 years that his family has had to visit his gravesite in Waynesboro instead of celebrating birthdays and holidays. In Georgia, Today is Ahmaud Arbery Day. It is a day to remember him, something that was very emotional for his mother.
And whereas February the 23rd will forever be known annually in the state of Georgia as the Ahmaud Arbery Day.
You can just see his mother's pain. She accepted the resolution in Atlanta today. The ceremony came one day after a federal jury in Brunswick found the three men guilty of hate crime charges.
Laws changing is just the beginning. Next, we must change the minds and the perception of black men in this country. My son was killed because someone else's perception of black men, my black son.
Ahmaud's mother announced the Ahmaud Arbery Foundation will provide scholarships to seniors at Brunswick High School, where Ahmaud graduated.
80 medical professionals from around Georgia signing a letter asking lawmakers not to pass a bill that would prevent patients from ordering an abortion pill through the mail. They say the FDA just finished a scientific study showing that medications for abortions can be safely prescribed without requiring patients to pick them up in person.
As a physician, I believe that denying care to women, as Senate Bill 456 will do, can only hurt our Georgia women, especially those low-income residents and people of color, as well as women living in rural areas.
They say it's beneficial for people in rural areas to access abortion medication the same way they can access telemedicine.
A senior U.S. defense official says Russian forces along...
Later in sports, a handful of football signees today. We're going to take you over to Westside High School. Next with Nick.
And it is looking like a foggy start.
All right, take a look at this. This sculpture could be coming to Columbia County. A committee recommended it for the new Lovelock Sculpture, and the full commission will vote on it coming up March 1st. Couples locking their love at the Savannah Rapids Park is a tradition nearly 10 years in the making.
Got a lot of locks out there already, but this new sculpture will be right next to the head gates of the Augusta Canal, inspired by all these locks of love hanging around. We spoke to the Canal Authority. They say it's just a great way to keep this tradition going and making sure the rails don't get too weighted down, because too much of a good thing is not a good thing anymore. So that's the old sculpture, if you call it that. So, Riley, I guess we could call this an improvement on the way.
Absolutely. It looks like a pretty cool sculpture. And, hey, that is the place to be this afternoon. Beautiful weather to get outside if you can head out to Savannah, Allendale, and Sylvania. With this warm air sticking around the next few days, hold out from planting anything. We usually do not see our last freeze here around Augusta until the end of March. And for places like Aitkin County, we're taking a look at not even seeing our last freeze till the first week of April. Over the last 6 years for us here in Augusta, if you remember last year, we actually did have a freeze on April 3rd. The year before that, it was March 8th. So it does vary year to year. But once again, it does look like at least through the end of March, that's likely when we will see that last freeze. So hold out from planting anything just yet. But beautiful weather will be in the forecast all the way through Saturday. Temperatures cooler by Sunday, and that's when rain is likely. So plan accordingly for the weekend.
Will do, Riley. Thanks a lot. A big day for a handful of football players over at Westside High School. 5 players signing to play football at the next level.
Congratulations to them. Our Nick Proto is here with how those players are hoping to leave an impact on Westside.
This past football season ranks up there with the best in Westside history. The Patriots won 9 games and had their first ever home playoff game, a dramatic win over Vidalia. Today, 5 seniors signed their NLIs to play college football. Rakeem Blunt and Jeff Hayes will stay teammates at the next level. They were committed to Gordon State. Tim Hill only played 1 year with the Patriots after coming over. He'll play at LaGrange College. Charles Phillips is headed to Rock Hill, South Carolina to play for Rama JUCO Academy. And running back Zay Green headed to North Carolina to play for Methodist University. Add in Caleb Hutchinson, who signed to Coastal last year. That is 6 seniors from this group who have signed to play college ball. Green says he hopes they set the example for younger players in this program.
It was real big for the program, and then leave a legacy and leave with the younger guys and see something to look up to and what they can accomplish also.
Patriots made it to the second round of states last year, looking for more success here in 2022. Coming up on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we'll hear from a local boxing gym ahead of their first ever pro event here in Augusta.
All right, thank you, Nick. Preserving history for the public to see. How the city of Aitkin is helping the Cultural Center accomplish their goals. Just ahead on News 12, first at 5.
The live eye camera.
Click, click. The city of Aitkin breathing new life into an historic landmark. They're taking ownership of the Center for African American History, Art, and Culture. The city getting the property at no cost starting next Friday. As Will Volk shows us, the move makes it easier for you to check out this center.
This place is full of history.
We're standing in the former Emmanuel Institute.
Jennifer Curtis helps run what is now a cultural center in Aitkin. This building has been around since the late 1800s. It opened as a school for African Americans.
This building has also been used as a church, Salvation Army, a gas station. It's been through several different iterations in its lifetime.
Today, it's somewhere you can go to reflect on African American culture, art, and history.
And then this is the ship room.
There's a room reflecting the journey across the Middle Passage, a wall honoring early South Carolina activists, and art all over.
Our mission is to make sure that people learn the complete history of America. It includes Black history. It is American history.
She hopes now that the city is taking ownership of this place, more people will get to see it.
If you do not know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
In Aitkin, Will Volk, on your side.
When the city does take ownership, they'll bring in an executive director, and that means the center will be open more regularly. Right now, it opens by appointment only because there's no full-time employee, but a beautiful piece of architecture with a brand new purpose.
Today, the trial begins for a former Louisville police officer for his role in the death of Breonna Taylor. Brett Hankison faces felony charges of wanton endangerment for blindingly firing into Taylor's home nearly 2 years ago, killing her. Neither Hankison nor any of the officers involved in serving the no-knock warrant that night were charged in her death. The police department fired Hankison and the other officers. The city also banned no-knock warrants.
Facebook has nearly 3 billion monthly users around the world, but it also has a big problem with fake accounts.
Oh yeah, you know you've seen them. Jamie Tucker continues looking into how these fakes happen, and today he shows us exactly how to protect your account.
Cloning Facebook profiles is both easy and lucrative for the bad guys, and some of us are making it even easier for them. If you're doing any of these things, your Facebook profile is vulnerable.
If you've accepted friend requests from people you don't know, they can see your friends list, posts, photos, phone numbers, anything else you make public on Facebook. But did you know friend requests you've turned down can also see your information? Go to your friends list and from the More tab, choose Followers. All of those people are folks who've sent you a friend request that you denied. They can not only see everything you post publicly, they get updates when you post. If you see someone you don't know, block them. Facebook makes you do it one at a time. Usernames and passwords can be stolen if you use Facebook to sign up for apps and websites. Go to Settings and then Apps and Websites. Facebook now removes those third parties from seeing your information if you haven't used them for 90 days, but it's not always accurate. If you see something you don't remember or use, remove it. Make your post viewable only to your friends or friends of friends. Otherwise, anyone can see what you post even if they're not on Facebook. Now, what should you do if your Facebook profile has already been cloned? Report it to Facebook. If you see strangers leaving comments like these, report those to Facebook as fake accounts. See where you're logged into Facebook. You'll find this in Settings as well. If you see a sign in that you've never logged into Facebook from there, log out of it and change your passwords.
And if you haven't done it in a while, go through the steps of Facebook's privacy checkup. Noah covered a lot here, and there's a lot more to say. If you want more information, check out my blog, whatthetech.tv. That is What the Tech. I'm Jamie Tucker.
Some breaking news to pass along. We're learning about an incident at Harlem High School today. Columbia County school officials telling us a student there tried to harm herself, then threatened school leaders.
Right, kitchen staff members say they ran to get help and let administration know what was happening. Then deputies and medical personnel arrived on the scene. The student was taken to the hospital. Juvenile court was told about the incident and now involved, but this could have ended very differently, so we're happy to report that it did not.
Riley?
Well, with the warm and breezy weather.
Riley, thanks very much for that. Turning firsthand loss into an opportunity to help save lives, how a grassroots campaign is working to combat overdose deaths. That's ahead when Laura Warren joins me for News 12 at 6 o'clock after the break.
Investigate from the station that's on your side. This is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
Who got Miss McKnight elected? We did everything we could to only be stabbed in the back by Miss McKnight.
News conference turns very confrontational, emotions running high over redistricting lines in Richmond County. We're going to hear the concerns about the map sitting on the governor's desk as we speak.
But first up this evening, shocked and scared. It's how neighbors say they feel after a shooting last night in a Columbia County subdivision.
It happened in the Halifax North neighborhood right off of Evans Deluxe Road. This is the home where it happened. That is on Fairfield Way, right down the road from the RecTech location. It's where deputies say 20-year-old Donquay Bates shot at least 3 people before turning the gun on himself. We have News 12 Sloan O'Cone live now for us from the scene. And Sloan, you say things are really quiet tonight. It's a quiet neighborhood, but neighbors are definitely on edge.
Exactly. They were completely shocked. This is a quiet, safe neighborhood. And they told me that law enforcement live all up and down this road. In fact, that's exactly how last night started. The resident of the home received a threatening text message from the shooter, including a picture of his house. And that's when he went to one of his neighbors, who's a deputy, to ask him for help. So they called an on-duty deputy to come and respond to the scene. But what they did not expect is what was waiting for them behind those gates.
Well, we heard the gunshots, like bam, 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 and then a little pause, then bam, 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 bam again.
The sheriff's office is describing it as an ambush.
The dangers that are potentially faced every day, these men and women put the uniform on.
Devontae Hill went into his backyard with his brother's girlfriend, and a deputy, while the shooter's aunt and 2 children sat inside. Once the gates opened, the sheriff's office says Donquay Bates opened fire, striking 3 in the ankle, leg, and foot, but did not hit the deputy.
I didn't know if they were loose. You know, if they were going come and try to get in someone's house or whatever. That's why I turned the lights out, locked my doors.
Causing fear throughout the rest of the neighborhood.
No, I was just a little scared because I think the police got rifles out of their car. And I was like, ooh, 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 what's that?
The sheriff's office tells us this wasn't a random act. The shooter's family member is engaged to the person who lives in the home. They also tell us this is not the first time Donquay has pulled the gun on the person in the home before. That incident was in Aitkin. Ultimately, he turned it on himself. But the sheriff's office wants you to know, if you ever have any concerns, call them.
You hear that, oh, we didn't want to bother you. That's what we do. We're out there 24/7, and we're happy for folks to call us.
The sheriff's office says they're still investigating, tying up any other loose ends, and trying to confirm that previous incident where a gun was drawn. And the shooter's body has been sent to Atlanta for an autopsy. No other charges are going to be pressed.
Certainly a neighborhood that's going to be shaken up for a little while. Sloan, thanks.
Also this evening, more signs of change happening at University Hospital. University logo came down, and you can see crews were installing some new lettering today for the system's new name, which will be Piedmont Healthcare. Going to give you a live look out there now. Looks like they do have a temporary university logo back up over the Piedmont letters, but University struck a deal with Piedmont back in May. We're told the official transition will happen Tuesday, March 1st. We'll have to get used to a new name or an old hospital in Augusta, Georgia.
It's going to be strange. We're going to have to reprogram our minds, but more to come on that later tonight at 11. But Riley, outside today, gorgeous weather. It does not feel like February, and we love that.
I know, record settings.
Just in tonight, we're learning more about an incident today at Harlem High School. Columbia County school officials tell us a student tried to harm herself and then threatened school leaders. Deputies and medical personnel arrived on the scene, and the student was taken to the hospital to be evaluated. But we're told juvenile court has been informed about the incident, and everyone is hoping she gets the help she needs.
In South Carolina, some new COVID guidance down from DHEC for South Carolina school districts. Schools can now suspend their test to stay and quarantine protocols as long as they've had 2 straight weeks with less than 10% of all students and staff having COVID. So that is the case for Aitkin County. The week's number is showing just 17 student cases out of the district's more than 20,000 student population. No school comes close to the 10% mark right now. That means Aitkin County can drop their protocols. All outside visitors allowed back in school starting March the 1st. Field trips are back on. Overnight trips for athletic teams, they're back on the table, so it feels pretty good.
I don't know about anyone else, but I'm here today because I am angry. I'm angry because I'm being disrespected.
What?
I'm angry because my voice and wishes have fallen on deaf ears.
Heated moments today at a news conference organized by people who live in the Elderberry neighborhood. They're speaking out against redistricting changes that could be in store for District 3. And it's a pretty complicated issue. We've been talking about it for weeks now, kind of breaking it all down. So let's try to break it down a little further for you. Augusta-Richmond County has 8 districts, and where you live determines what district you're in, what district you're in determines everything from where your child goes to school to the elected officials in office who represent you. And today's frustration stem from changes that could be coming to these map lines. So districts 3 and districts 5, these are the 2 that are really in the hot button zone. We've got Celeste with a closer look at what this really means for you.
Yeah, Laura, so way back when, there was a special committee made here in Augusta to draft some of those new maps. Essentially, lawmakers at the state have gone against those recommendations, and they've created their own. A big topic today was about where Precinct 309 falls. That precinct is near Jimmy Dias Parkway and Wrightsboro Road, and it contains the Elderberry neighborhood and many others. As it stands right now, and in the maps drafted by the local committee, Precinct 309 is in District 3, right there. But the maps made by lawmakers at the state have changed that, moving it instead here to join District 5. But besides frustrations with lawmakers at the state, some residents tried to air their grievances with local representatives, too.
We did everything we could to only be stabbed in the back by Ms. McKnight.
I'm going to say this right now.
Cut everything.
Well, because y'all don't want to hear the truth.
A news conference turned into a back and forth. One neighbor says she felt Commissioner McKnight didn't speak out enough or at the right time on losing the neighborhood to District 5.
I represent 10 precincts in District 3. So any precinct out of those 10 that are being removed, I'm supporting that they not be moved.
Though Commissioner McKnight was not on the local ad hoc committee and was not the one who drafted any of the maps.
They're blaming the wrong person. They really are.
State Representative Mark Newton and State Senators Max Burns and Lee Anderson sponsored this new map, going against local committee drafts.
Republican Senator Max Burns took the map, balled it up, and threw it in the trash can.
The major concern of those in the Elderberry neighborhood is how a change in district could diminish their voices. Many here are concerned the district is being packed. Essentially, that's attempting to put all the voters of one party all into the same district so their votes can't swing elections elsewhere. Precinct 309 is majority black, and the drafted maps put them in a majority black district. But keep in mind, lawmakers aren't supposed to draw lines based solely on race.
Y'all keep pushing us out. Where y'all want to push us to? Y'all just keep pushing us out. And at the end of the day, we're tired.
So while the road leading up to the Elderberry subdivision is paved with election signs, some here are concerned about the future they're walking into and the future of those votes.
The maps sponsored by state lawmakers still need to be signed off by Governor Kemp. Some people tell us if those are signed, they expect legal action to be coming in the future.
And it is all but a certainty that they will be signed. We reached out to Senator Max Burns and Representative Mark Newton for a comment or to interview with us about the maps that they are pushing and that they are backing, but we've not heard back from either of them.
Well, we set a record high this afternoon. We'll likely set a record high this afternoon. We'll likely do it again on Thursday. We'll see how long this heat sticks around. That full forecast next.
Also ahead, coming together to fight a crisis. See how our community is teaming up to prevent the devastation of drug overdoses. Next.
Time.
Putting an end to a preventable problem. That is the goal for local groups working right now to raise awareness about drug overdose deaths.
Our I-team found overdose deaths are up in the two states. From 2019 to 2020, Georgia saw a 34% increase. South Carolina, a staggering 53%, according to the latest CDC data.
Today, there was a training session downtown talking more about the problem and about solutions.
We got News 12's Wrdw here with how this is teaching our community life-saving skills.
It's something that's readily available to almost anyone.
Narcan is the difference between life and death for somebody.
Dolly McCurry works with Focus on Recovery Augusta, a nonprofit founded in 2019 focused on supporting people after substance or alcohol abuse. She knows firsthand the importance of Narcan.
I remember when I was still active in my own drug use and we didn't have things like Narcan available, and watching people overdose and not really knowing the best way to help them.
Their group is holding training sessions to teach people how to use Narcan as fentanyl deaths continue to rise. They hand out free kits to anyone in need. It's already saved more than 100 lives over the past year.
That's 131 funerals that didn't have to be planned, or parents who didn't lose their children.
It's easy to use.
This is what we call the plunger, and just very simply, you're going to put this in their nose and press as hard as you can.
It's become necessary that it's a part of everybody's home first aid kit now, and every business's as well.
Christian Frazier is the executive director of Focus on Recovery Augusta. He says there's common misconceptions about fentanyl.
You're not going to die from having breathed it in, because it was in a house you went to. You're not going to die from having touched it if it was on a table or something.
As the opioid crisis continues to grow, they say getting the information out is their biggest goal.
The name of the game at this point is just educating people on what Narcan is, how to use it, and what to do if you are in a situation where you need to administer Narcan.
In Augusta, Wrdw on your side.
And the number one reason people don't call for help is fear of police involvement. In both Georgia and South Carolina, the states have what's called a Good Samaritan or medical amnesty law, and that protects you as a witness, or if you're a victim yourself, if you call 911 for medical help for an overdose, and it saves you from being arrested or prosecuted.
Also this evening, a new lending library opened up in Aitkin County. This was the scene just in the last couple of hours at North Aitkin Elementary. Students from Aitkin High School built that library to donate it to their community. Anyone now welcome to leave and borrow books there for free. Good idea. Nice work there. Let's have a look outside.